and welcome to CLCI Live. I am your host, Brooke Adair Walters. Just kidding,
No.
Brooke is out today. I am the fill-in for Brooke. So welcome everybody. Welcome Anthony. Welcome Sam. Happy to have you.
Yeah, it's
And
been a while.
yeah, it has. Yeah, Sam, we haven't seen you in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get started, today is a good one. Today is about coaching business, your coaching business. We get a lot of requests for this. So we are finally going to dive in and just want to remind you to hit the like button if you haven't done that already, because that helps us, but it also helps you. It helps teach your algorithm that this is what you want, that you want more of this stuff. So do yourself a favor and hit the like button. And then also, are you subscribed? Just check in real quick. Make sure you're subscribed so you can keep getting more from us. Every 2 weeks we go live. Also, we do want to hear from you. So please feel free to talk to us. We are going to be monitoring the chat and we would love to take your questions. So anything else that I am missing?
I think you got everything. I think it's
Okay.
like, subscribe, share, comment. You covered all the bases.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right. So I feel like I should hand it over now because I am not the expert on this topic, and I think we should give it to the experts.
Sam, if you want to introduce those concepts.
Fair enough. So today we're going to be talking about three specific concepts of business that's going to help you not only in your marketing, but in your daily operations. And those three topics are the topics of TAM, SAM, and SOM, which I'm going to introduce later on, which we're going to introduce the concept of fixed versus variable costs, something that will help you not have a heart attack in your business, not you literally, but your business itself. And then the other piece to that is break-even analysis. And keep in mind that the goal of this is not to turn y'all into accountants and business analysts within the span of 30 to 40 minutes, but help you understand that when you're marketing your business, there's a lot you need to look at rather than just who's my ideal client and who is in my purpose to serve. All of that's great, but you also have to keep in mind that there are some specifics that you need to look at so you can reach out to those people that you are meant for. Anything to add in this space, Anthony?
Yeah. So these 3 or 6 concepts total. When we originally when you mentioned about not just talking about niche is really just focusing on ourselves a lot of the time and who we are directly interacting with. These concepts help you place yourself in the market and industry of life coaching. It gives you a bigger or a greater amount of tools to survey the landscape and then help you think about what needs to happen and what you need to take into account if you want to grow as a business and maybe even expand from just a solo coach practitioner to maybe you want to make a business that incorporates other coaches or a service that is related to life coaching because it also fits into the TAM, SAM, SOM. We're going to be saying these acronyms a lot. We will address what these acronyms mean. We have a SAM here that we're talking with, but also a SAM. It stands for Serviceable Available Market. Just a less fun SAM.
Can
but
I
an
ask,
important topic. Yeah.
should I have heard of these concepts by now? Because
Yes.
I haven't.
No.
And I'm really excited to learn, but I'm wondering if most people have heard of these. What do you think?
It's a yes and no. It really just depends on what areas of business you're exposed to, because when we hear people say they want to have a coaching business, business is so broad and there are so many concepts that most coaches are never even going to touch. So if you're here for the first time, don't feel bad, but at the same time, look at this as a way to expand beyond just, oh, I want to serve my ideal client. Because there's a difference between an ideal client and somebody that you can actually obtain. And I guess now is a great time to start talking about what TAM, SAM, SOM, try saying that 5 times fast, actually means. TAM, total addressable market. SAM Gozo, just kidding. SAM, serviceable addressable market. and some serviceable, obtainable market. And the trichotomy, the relationship between these three, helps you determine who can you theoretically talk to and sell to, and then who you can realistically win. Can I give you all a nice little example that may or may not give y'all hungry, that may or may not make y'all hungry?
Go for it.
So here we go. We have decided that we are no longer going to be coaches. Instead, we're going to open up a chain and sell Nashville hot chicken sandwiches. Who do we think are ideally our ideal customers? Anybody who likes Nashville hot chicken, right? Here in the United States. We sell Nashville hot chickens everywhere, right? So they go to Coaching 101. They decide, you know what? I'm secretly going to start selling some Nashville hot chicken sandwiches like Sam, Jen, and Anthony are. So total addressable. Everyone in the country who could theoretically buy Nashville hot chicken sandwiches. But you're not going to reach everybody that you can theoretically address. So now we have to determine who is in our geography. Sam, serviceable addressable market, talks about who you can theoretically serve, not just who you can win right now. Here we are, like, I'm in Texas, Anthony is in California, Jen, you are in Georgia. I think Georgia's cooler, so let's all move to Georgia. We're all going to sell our Nashville hot chicken sandwiches in Georgia. So sadly, those in the Texas market may or may not be in our serviceable, addressable market just because we're in different geographies. So for the sake of easy example here, serviceable, addressable market are those in the state of Georgia who can buy those Nashville hot chicken sandwiches. But just because they're in Georgia doesn't necessarily mean that we can obtain them. Jen, what is the closest major city to you?
Atlanta.
So let's just say, for the sake of example, we're in Atlanta. Now we're going to start talking about obtainable market. Is everybody in the city of Atlanta going to buy a Nashville hot chicken sandwich? It'd be nice if they would, but we got to go with Sam, Jen, and Anthony's Nashville hot chicken sandwich versus Chick-fil-A versus the mom and pop shop that can make some really good Nashville hot chicken versus, I don't know, you name some other chicken shop here, Church's Chicken, whatever we want to talk about here. So now we have to compete against these others and ask ourselves, based on our positioning, not just our geography, but how we're positioned competitively. Are we visible? Are we accommodating to dietary restrictions? Are operating hours good enough for our obtainable market? If we can answer those questions, then we have a better idea of who we can realistically serve. So we went from everybody who loves chicken to those in the state of Georgia who we could probably reach, or people who are passing through Georgia, and then obtainable market. Who in the greater Atlanta area could we beat out besides Chick-fil-A and everybody else? Does that all make sense?
Yeah. I'm gonna now try to complicate this a little bit.
Let's go.
Would changing the TAM then change my Sam and Psalm? What I mean by is, we established earlier that the TAM was anybody who could potentially buy a hot chicken. And that would then, now everything that falls under that is hot chicken in smaller and smaller geographic areas. What if I redefine the TAM as anybody who buys fast food versus a sit-down restaurant? Would that work as a TAM? Is that a workable idea of like how I would use TAM in different ways to achieve different numbers?
Yes. And the thing you got to keep in mind is, depending on how we're positioned, if we're not necessarily positioned as a fast food restaurant, but somebody that takes their time, or more of a gourmet chicken chain, then sure, our total addressable market could be anybody who likes junk food, because as far as they're concerned, like, take my dad, for example. Hi, Dad, if you're watching this. My dad has had a propensity to call a lot of food that's not cooked at home junk food or fast food. So if you've got people in that space that look at anything that's not cooked at home as fast food, then sure, maybe we can say that our total addressable market is anybody that enjoys fast food as defined by them. Does that mean that we position ourselves as a fast food restaurant? Maybe, maybe not. But to answer your question very simply, yes, and I hope that helps.
Yeah, and the reason why I ask is because other restaurants, let's just say, could butt up against my market for hot chicken. I assume that there's not a population of people who exclusively eat hot chicken. They're also available to eat other foods. And if we were to compare ourselves as life coaches, if we brought it down to the life coaching space, there might be other comparable professions that butt up with an overlap with life coaching, whether we intend it or not, such as consulting, mentoring, therapy, other, losing the professions off the top of my head. But I wonder if those adjacent industries also make up the TAM, the total addressable market.
I think it does. And I think that's kind of a perfect segue into, I think, the comment that Brooke just made. Is this linear? No, it's not linear. And here's why. Buying behaviors and buying trends will change over time. So while we're periodically, whether that's yearly, quarterly, trying to figure out our TAM, SAM, song, we also have to take into account where we put, like, where coaching, for instance, since we're talking about coaching, where coaching fits in the eyes of our ideal audiences, from our TAM to our SAM to our SOM. In 2015, people were buying coaching. 2025, people are still buying coaching, but in different capacities. Some may be looking for an external coach. Some people may be looking for internal coaches. So to answer the question, short answer, no, it's not linear. It does change. And that's why it's important to be cognizant and aware of different trends that are happening within the industry. I think there was a live that happened on that. I think I was teaching when that one was going on.
Yeah, and also to address your point in regards to the coaching industry, it has increased by 17% since 2023. I'm pulling this information from the 2025 ICF Global Coaching Study. Currently, we're at 5.34 billion USD total over the global economy as far as coaching goes. That has increased from 17% from 2023. So your TAM is flexible. It grows and it shrinks as the markets and economies do.
Absolutely. And then to add even more complicating measures to this, trying to figure out whether your TAM is more aspirational with their spending or insulatory with their spending. And what that means is buying because they want to add something to their lives, or buying because they want to protect what they already have. Like I said before, buying behaviors that can affect your TAM, SAM, and SOM as well. Wow. Lots of different. If you haven't heard of this before, again, don't feel bad because there's so much to it. And as much as we don't want to complicate the business language that comes with any business, we also don't want coaches to make the mistake of thinking that any couple, if we're talking relationship coaches, for example, any couple could be obtained. Can you attain a couple in the world of Zoom and Microsoft Teams if you're living in Georgia in the state of California? Absolutely, you could, but you have to look at the channels from which you are obtaining your markets. For example, it's like there's a coach listing platform that I'm a part of right now. Are we allowed to say the names of those, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool. So it's like I'm on Numi. That's one of the coach listing platforms I'm on. If there are couples that go on Numi, then technically they are in my obtain. I can compete for them. But if they're not within my acquisition or like my client acquisition channels, whether that's going somewhere to a networking meeting or going to my coach listing platforms, they may be a couple, but I can't really obtain them as easily as I could someone on that platform or within my reach. So think about this, coaches. Who can I reach? Not just who do I want to work with, but who can I realistically reach, compete with other service practitioners against, and win. I know that competition can sound bloody, but that's not what I'm trying to talk about right now, right? So sometimes people's competition is doing nothing.
I tend to hear this a lot on the phone sometimes, and when we did the lunch and learn marketing, I'm using this as an example of SAM, the serviceable available market. We tend to get some students who don't like from a principled standpoint, they don't like social media. They just do not engage with social media. They don't like it. It seems their serviceable available market then has gotten a lot smaller from that perspective. And just by putting yourself on social media, you've ballooned it out so much. But from what I've read from the source that we used on this topic, there's like a Goldilocks zone of serviceable obtainable market and serviceable available market. You don't want to be so large that you're just saying that you're appealing to everybody and everything is in your serviceable available market, even though that might sound good on the surface. And you also don't want to be so small that you really can't reach anyone.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not saying that it's not doable if you're doing in-person boots on the ground marketing, but it's a lot easier to do that if I lived in, let's say, Atlanta, Georgia, or Los Angeles, California, than I would in a city of 1,000 people. I might have a very small serviceable available market then. So if you're in one of those areas that is difficult to have a SAM and not participate in social media, it might behoove you to look into where you can put yourself, what directories, what social media sites you could advertise in to open up your SAM a little bit and give you some more breathing room.
Yeah, well said. I don't know that there's much more to add to this one. Jen, anything? You're muted, by the way.
Oh, the Jen is muted again.
Sorry. We've got so we've got 3 concepts for today, correct? This SAM, TAM, TOM, SOM, BOM.
Yeah, that's like one concept.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does that mean we're ready to go into the second one?
I want to touch on this one just a little bit more.
Okay.
With
the addendum that this applies a lot to people who are seeking investors at times as well. So if you're a solo entrepreneurial coach, I'm mashing up my words. This is what I've gathered from the Coach Global Coaching Study. I made a little site to help me visualize this information. But let's say I'm in North America and I make the average annual revenue of $49,000, roughly speaking. I'm not 1% of my SAM because the TAM is $5.34 billion. The SAM for North America is $2.8 billion. Hypothetically, if I was making the average revenue of $49,000, $50,000 in North America, I'm not 1%, I'm 0.001% of 1% of the total SAM. Now, these figures tend to adjust, though, if you were to hypothetically make a business where it's in the coaching industry, you work with coaches, and let's say you pair coaches with clients, like you're the Tinder of the coaching industry, and you're still within this industry, then your SOM increases and is a larger percentage of the SAM, and that tends to look good for investors. They want to see that you're able to achieve a higher possible income and revenue with your SAM and your SOM, and that is a way that could convince people to invest in your company if it's coaching adjacent. That doesn't really apply if you are, a solo coach and you only want to work with yourself. You don't really want to expand any further, but then you get limited by other things such as the amount of time that you can work with clients. That will probably be your number one factor. You can only coach so many clients, per hour per day. If you want to grow as a coach, you're going to have to do some, things to be able to reach out to more people, maybe expand with a network of coaches instead, grow your business in some sort of direction where you can service more people.
Yeah, well said. That means some of these coaches better be on Shark Tank by the time they learn these topics. Even if you're not doing that, just an easy way to remember this, your TAM tells you who you can theoretically serve. Your SOM, if you work down that TAM, SAM, SOM model, for lack of better terms, that gives you a place to go by next Monday because you have an understanding of who you can obtain. Think about it like that. Might help.
All right. What are the next concepts?
They kind of walk hand in hand. You've got fixed versus variable costs, and then we'll talk about break even after. But if you're watching this live right now, or if you watch the replay, I want you to answer this question. Put this in the chat. If you had zero, no clients this month, what costs would you still be responsible for at the end of that month? And then, of course, we can talk about the end of the year, but put in the chat, what would you still be responsible for? For some of you, it might be your website, might be Zoom, could be any AI tools that you're using for the sake of your business. But that's a fixed cost. No matter how many clients you have, whether it's you have one client or you have 10 clients, you're still going to be responsible for that. Adding to that, next question I want y'all to put in the chat once you answer that is, with each client, what more do you have to spend for that client experience? I'm going to stop right there, actually, because I don't want to just monopolize the time on fixed and variable costs, just in case you wanted to jump in on that one, Anthony.
Yeah. So this would be I'm thinking of an example of the first fixed cost that a coach will encounter coming into this industry is your education. That cost is fixed. It's not going to change as long as the ICF doesn't require you to renew your initial education hours. Let's say, for example, we're just getting our foot in the door, 33 hours of training with us, Coaching 101. The fixed cost for that is $12.95. That can obviously change with discounts, but we're just going to say $12.95. That is an initial fixed cost that can be immediately covered by doing a certain amount of coaching. We're assuming at this point you're doing zero coaching, but what are the costs that you're going to have to pay no matter what, whether you have clients or not? Like Sam said, education, websites, tools that you use. This could also be rent for if you have an office that you do coaching out of, or if you are a solo entrepreneur, you can include a percentage of the square foot of your house as your office on your taxes, things like that. So you would consider maybe your rent and your internet service is as fixed costs to be able to maintain this business. The variable costs, we want to try to get that to zero. I'm struggling right now to think about what variable costs per client or coaching session might come up. The one of them I can think about is cost per conversion. Like if you do advertising on Google or any of the social media sites, it's going to cost you a certain amount of money for somebody to either click on your advertisements or eventually convert to a sale. And that will vary based on the volume. If you only have one client who ever converts for $25, you're only paying that $25. But if you get 100 clients, you multiply that by $25, and the cost is going to scale with the amount of people that come into your business. Can you guys think of any other variable costs that a coach might encounter?
Well, honestly, with fixed versus variable costs, the overwhelming majority of costs for coaches, depending on what it is you're doing, like let's just assume this is a bare bones coaching business that they're operating online. The majority of their costs are either going to be fixed costs, or if you want to get really technical, allocated fixed costs. Here's what I mean by that. An allocated fixed cost is where you take part of your fixed cost and allocate it directly to your coaching engagement. It's not a variable cost in the sense where it's unique to the coaching engagement, but I don't even know how you would even allocate certain costs and just keep them from being. I'm going to say no. Very rarely will you have a variable cost unless here, I'll just use my own example here, because on top of coaching, I also give assessments. Not every coaching engagement requires an assessment, for example, DISC. So a variable cost for a client might be the cost of whatever that DISC assessment is. And that could be anything from $30 all the way to $80. So technically that could be a variable cost. The day I make that standard across the board, where no matter who comes to me for whatever reason, they get an assessment, that is no longer going to be a variable cost. That is now fixed, because I am putting that, I'm paying for that every month. I'm making sure that I got DISC assessments that are ready to go at any point in time. And that would be more of either a fixed cost or an allocated fixed cost at that point. Variable, I guess if I'm like sending them hats and stuff like that and not doing that for everybody else, that could be a variable cost.
I can imagine making an argument for like doing continuing professional development, not strictly credentialing ICF stuff, but all the things that could be like specific workshops, qualifications, niche training. Maybe if you travel or you do in-person expenses, like you're taking clients out to lunch, doing business lunches, or you're traveling, doing in-call life coaching. I'm not too sure what that would look like from a business perspective. Or if you have contractors as well, or subcontractors, like I'm not going to build the website myself. I pay for the cost of maintaining the website through Wix, for example, or Squarespace, but I'm hiring somebody to maintain and build the website. And as my business grows, the amount of services and offerings I grow, and the website needs to evolve with the business. So the subcontractor is going to have to do more work, and that's going to vary as well. And that might not even be, it would be hard to calculate that in the break-even point calculation that we'll talk about later on. But those are some examples of maybe a variable cost that will come up. But I think for coaches, you're mostly focusing on the fixed cost for your break-even, which we'll get into a little bit later.
Yeah. I think the other complicated thing, which is also going to feed into our next concept, is as service-based entrepreneurs, specifically in the coaching space, break-even and fixed versus variable costs does not take into account the economic value of your time. Because yes, it's going to show per hour, this is how much you charge, but it doesn't take into account how much time you spend preparing before the coaching session, after the coaching session, how long it takes for you to even onboard a client. So as we're discussing this, I don't even know if I answered this one yet. When we're going through these concepts, the other thing you have to think about is, what is the economic value of my coaching session, like my coaching engagement, my coaching practice? Because I can say I'm making what, for example, $5,000 on a coaching engagement, just throwing an arbitrary number out there. When you deduct fixed versus variable costs, you're not necessarily taking that home. When you take into account taxes, not necessarily taking all that home. So is the amount of work you're doing per hour justifying that rate for yourself? That's why sometimes you make a whole lot of money, yet you still feel broke. I went through that the first 3 years as a coach. First 4 years, technically, if you're counting the year and a half I spent rebuilding. But it's like, wow, I have all this. And not to mention, food still isn't free. What the heck? So now I got to take into account food and my fixed costs and Uncle Sam. It's just stuff to think about, y'all.
Too many Sams. There's 3 Sams now. Uncle Sam, Sam, and Sam Gozo.
And Sam Gozo's the best.
That's the best one. That's what we're keeping.
Well, technically you're keeping Uncle Sam too, or Uncle Sam's keeping you.
That's true. Now I think we can segue to the break-even point, because
Mhm.
fixed costs and variable costs are interesting concepts, but they don't do anything really by themselves until you figure out, where do I break even? Like, what point am I net neutral in terms of spending and income, and then when do I actually become profitable?
Mhm.
And this can also be over an amount of time and an amount of, in this case, coaching sessions. When do I actually become profitable? This, I think, ties the bow on everything, because we were talking. These are kind of heady concepts, and they're hard to think about when they don't really directly involve your life, your business, your money. Now that we have the concepts of TAM, SAM, and SOM, and fixed costs and variable costs, we can combine that into, when do I actually start making money as a coach? When can I actually sustain myself? When can I quit my day job? Or if this was a part time thing, when can I switch from doing coaching part time to now, oh, I should do this full time, and I should invest money to do full time because I can sustain a higher fixed cost. Um, I'm going to share, I think this would be a good time now to share a little sheet I made.
Mhm.
Yes, I'm allowing.
Mhm.
Oh,
And as he's doing that, just as a reminder, the time you start making money is not just when you sell your first package. That's the thing that you're going to see here.
let's see. There we go. Are we all good? Can we see what I'm sharing? There we go.
Yes, indeed.
So we have the fixed costs and we have the unit
Mhm.
sales price. We've already explained what the fixed cost is. For now, to keep things very simple, I'm including coaching 101 education, $12.95. This number will obviously increase for other things, for whatever tools you use, websites you build, things like that. If you're paying for like Wix to maintain your website or your domain, but we're just going to stick with this very easy number right now. The unit sales price, I'm defining it. You feel free to define this how you wish, whether it's a long-term coaching engagement or a one-on-one session. I'm defining it as the average fee for 1 hour of coaching from the global average of new coaches. New coaches, not the average of all coaches or coaches who have 10 years of experience, but we're going to say that's $172 for 1 hour session. The unit variable cost, this is the avoidable expenses that vary. I'm going to say that this is 20% per session in advertising. So if I'm paying $172, I'm taking 20% of that and I'm saying that's what, you know, Facebook takes a cut for my advertising for every conversion, or Wix
Mhm.
or Google Ads or whoever. You will know this number. Hopefully, you're keeping track of all this. You're going to stick that in your unit variable costs. The contribution margin is the unit sales price minus the unit variable costs, and it's the amount of each session fee that remains after covering the variable costs to help pay down the fixed costs. So I'm just subtracting variable costs from my unit sales price right here. And then I see what I need to do break even. So now I'm dividing my fixed costs, the big number on the top will be my fixed cost. On the bottom will be after I do that little subtraction. So my contribution margin. This is how many 1 hour sessions I need to sell to cover all of my expenses. So I need to do roughly 9.5 hours of coaching to completely break even. What that comes out to in dollar amount is I need to make $1,618 to reach my break even threshold
Mhm.
over time. This obviously changes if I were to be crazy and say I'm going to charge $500 per session. Well, now I only need 2.8 sessions or $1,300 worth of income to be able to break even. And if I instead decide to be very charitable and sell my coaching sessions for $50, I need to do 83 hours of coaching, or I need to make $4,150 to be able to break even entirely on just coaching 101 alone. But this obviously changes. We're using very simplified calculator that I whipped up in 20 minutes to illustrate this concept of when do we actually break even. Now, obviously, I can't break even. Maybe I could if I was Iron Man, but I couldn't do 83 hours of coaching in a single week. That would be pretty ludicrous, and it's not taking into account of all the work you need to do outside of just coaching people one-on-one. So I bring it back to 172, doing 9 hours of coaching in a week. What do you guys think, Jen and Sam? Is that pretty reasonable as a coach? How would you feel about coaching that many people in a week?
Jen, you can go first if you want to. I've spoken a lot here. You go, and then I'll go after.
It depends. I mean, depending on what else I have going on in my life, depending on if I have any other jobs that are providing me income, 10 hours would be a bit of a stretch for me right now. However, ask me 2 years ago and I would have been like, yeah, absolutely. I got 10 hours. So it just depends. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I always say in classes, put life coaching into your life, not your life into life coaching, just because we're certified life coach institute. Before I was married, I had all the hours in the world to dedicate to coaching. When I got married, those hours went down a bit. I just had a kid 6 weeks ago, and I am still figuring out how many total hours of coaching that I can devote to everything. Because yes, I do this. I have my own coaching practice. I have a wife that I do not want to feel overwhelmed in this new stage of life that we're in. And some days I just want to hold my baby girl. Okay. So what hours do we have yet? I'm still calculating that and we're still figuring it out. But 9 hours, I don't think it's terrible. But again, I don't know every coach's life. Some people may only be able to dedicate 2 or 3 hours a week, while others are saying, let's let her rip.
What are some ways then we can change these numbers to work in our favor? What do we really have control over in a realistic setting? I think one would be the unit sales price. Mm-hmm. This increases with time and experience. From what I've seen in the global coaching study, is that the more education you have and the more time you put into coaching, the more money you make. So that eventually you get to a number like 282. I'm just copying and pasting this. $282, and I think I might have.
Did you mean to stop sharing your screen, by the way? Oh, there you go.
Nope, I'm still sharing. That's Jerome in the background. $282 for an experienced coach. I'm making now 5.2, and also to bring back, or it'd be 5.2 sessions. But I'm also now expanding my SAM by having more education and more experience. The people who are willing to purchase my services is growing as well, from what might have been smaller to something that is larger as I get more experience. Yeah. Do you guys have any other ways that we can maybe adjust these numbers in our favor by actions we can take as coaches?
Absolutely. And I think one of the easiest barriers to entry, reducing your fixed costs. I feel like some coaches add to their fixed costs way too quickly. It's like, get the website, get the best Zoom subscription, get the best AI tools. Slow down. You probably don't need all that just yet. Think about what you need, the bare minimum you need to start a coaching business. I know people who have no online presence at all. So don't even think about paying for the verified Instagram so you don't have to pay that extra $14, $15 a month. So looking at your fixed costs and reducing that, especially because if we're being completely honest, the conversation around raising prices can bring a lot of anxiety to some coaches. So reduce some costs first, see what you can operate off of. I was really happy to be able to eliminate some of my own fixed costs in my business just last month. And I'm like, this is still pretty high, but it's not as high. So give that a shot.
All right, I think we've pretty much covered all of our bases. Jen, do you have any final insights or maybe questions for us as you've been listening to this?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the fixed cost thing we were talking about, and one of the big ones is the website. For a lot of coaches to get started, you just need a professional presence, and you can do that without your own website. You can do that through a platform called Vibely, which we recommend. And so that's something to consider. That can take your costs way down and get you started.
I'm going to point out that only becomes a free fixed cost when you take our classes at Certified Life Institute. Then you get the free profile, and then it's not a fixed cost anymore.
Well, yes, it's a fixed cost though if you want to have a professional presence, like where you can do your business. Yes, you can do your business online, have a professional presence without having your own website. Yes.
See, Vibely, we are giving you guys a shout out if you're watching this.
We should do a live with them actually and talk more.
Yeah, we should to show off all the cool bells and whistles. Don't worry, we're gonna be having you use Vibely all the time. Same with Jen and myself.
Yeah.
Your sound went really low. What just happened?
Oh, that's because I was talking low. But my microphone's a little far from me. Yeah, I mean, I've encountered this even with this business where I'm looking at comparing tools that would help us, and you'd be amazed by how creative you are with solutions to problems when you see how high of a fixed cost a tool is or service, a software that someone is providing you to solve a problem. Then when you see like a $10K price tag on something, you find very creative and nifty ways to use Google Sheets or Excel spreadsheets to solve the same problem. So, but that also comes with a time commitment as well. I'm exchanging money for time now, and that your time will vary. So it's important. That's something that really this can't ever teach you. All these concepts is how valuable your time is. That's something individual to every single coach and every single person. And 1 hour of time for you spent on working on a project, it might be worthwhile to hire a consultant to do, or actually buy the product that solves this problem because you're going to be making more money using your time for something else. But these are internal things that you, the coach, need to work through. No calculator is really ever going to tell you that yourself to your face. Yeah. All right. I think that wraps us up then.
No,
Jen.
I think Sam. Yeah, Sam wants to.
Got 3 things. Yeah.
Sam.
Yeah.
The power of 3.
Really quick, just 3 things that y'all can do at the end of this video, action steps for yourselves. And I'm going to quickly go back to Tam, Sam, Som to explain this first one. First thing to do, identify 10. You can do 5 if you want to, but I'm going to challenge y'all to do 10 real SOM prospects that you can start talking to this week. And there's a little quick test I'm going to give you. Remember this little acronym, FAW. And I put a little extra emphasis on that because it's FAAW, fit, ability, access, and win. Fit asks, do they reasonably need what I sell? Ability, can they realistically buy or influence the buying decision? Sometimes they might not be the buyer, but they're the ones that can influence whether a company or a big organization buys. Access, do you have a credible path to them, whether that's going to them in person, going on social media, and win. Do they have a reason to choose you? Do you have a fighting chance? It's like, are you competing against people who they know and they like, and then you're just there on the outside? Or can you be in that in that orbit for them? FAAW, fit, ability, access, win. Identify 10 of those, up to 10 of those. Second thing you're gonna do, list the costs that you owe with 0 clients and the additional costs that appear with 1 engagement. Some of y'all may not have clients just yet, so this could be a very easy task. At the end of each month, how much am I spending? The second you get your first client, is that changing? That'll give you an idea of what a fixed and a variable cost is. And the third and final thing, estimate how many engagements you need to cover your business costs. Those are the 3 things. Identify your sums, list the costs that you owe with no clients, and then see what changes when you get your clients, and then estimate how many engagements you need to keep the lights on. Those are your 3 homework assignments, which coaches don't necessarily give homework, but I'm not y'all's coach right now. We ain't y'all's coach right now, so Anything else?
I think that's it. That's a good way to put a bow on this. Jen, send us off.
Okay, well, if you have not taken our classes, this is a great time to look into doing that. We invite you to call us, email us, whatever is convenient for you, and talk about that. We also have mentoring. I'm one of the mentor coaches. We also do performance evaluation. We're a full level 1 school, so we've got a lot of offerings. If you are working towards ICF credentials and you want to boost up your credibility so you can charge more, we've got you. We've got that for you. So keep us in mind for that. Reach out if you have questions. And we will be back in 2 weeks. I'm not sure what our topic is, but it's going to be something good. Every 2 weeks on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, we will be live. And that's it.
All right.